Oil prices rising to kick off June as the U.S. and Iran trade fire in the Persian Gulf, a ceasefire hanging in the balance. President Trump is said to be requesting edits to a deal his envoys negotiated with Tehran, looking for more concessions from the regime on its nuclear program. The president would prefer a peace agreement, but he's making it very clear he's prepared to wait as long as it takes for the right deal.
Getting what we want slowly, very tough negotiators. It takes a long time. I'm in no hurry. I'd like to say I'm in a hurry because, gasoline prices are going to come tumbling down. But if you're going to be in a hurry, you're not going to make a good deal. In the end, we have all the cards because we've defeated them militarily.
What are you watching?
I'm going to look at it from the market perspective in the sense of why would he be in a hurry based on what the stock market has been doing, based on what the oil market has been doing, and based on what gasoline prices are doing on at least a short-term basis. So gasoline prices are lower over the last week at least. Yes, they're still very elevated, and that remains an issue. But you take a look at oil, it's creeping higher this morning. But again, you just have one of the biggest drops in WTI crude you've seen in the last several years in the month of May. So I think you zoom out, and markets aren't really pressuring the fact that this war needs to end imminently. So I think you hang around and you get the deal that you actually want, and you do have some time to negotiate here. The conversation has shifted a bit from a few months ago when you had bond yields soaring, oil, you don't know where the top is. It feels like, oh no, how high can all of this go? How bad can it get? At least from a market perspective and some of the different things that I think have maybe pressured the administration at points, those don't feel as hot right now. So I think there is time to wait a little bit.
Can I say something on that? I don't want Trump to be in a hurry. I agree with that. I don't want him to be in a hurry because he's right. When you're in a hurry, you make bad deals. But I want Iran to be in a bigger hurry. That's my problem with this right now. It's not that we need to be in a hurry, but are we doing the things that gets Iran to the table and motivated to deal? To me, it doesn't feel like we are. Now, there could be something in the works. There could be great reasons for that. I'm not a military strategist. I'm not a negotiating expert. But I'm looking at this, and it feels like every time we talk about Iran, we're making excuses for why they can't come to the table, right? We don't know who's in charge. They can't communicate. I'm like, why are we making excuses for our negotiating adversary?
And also, that's not our problem. That's their problem.
I mean, maybe we created the problem by killing their front line and their second line, but I don't care. I want them to be in a hurry to make a deal because they're stressed. And the more time goes by, it feels like they're cheating on oil, right? They're doing the ship-to-ship deal. I don't know where cash might be coming in. It feels like they're not in enough of a hurry. So I would like to see us do something to them where it kicks them in the rear end and they're like, we need to make a deal or we're going to collapse or something worse. I'm not seeing that right now.
Okay. I don't think that we're making excuses for them. I agree this has been a difficult negotiation, but I don't think the president makes excuses for anybody. Respectfully, I hear what you're saying, and this is taking longer than everybody anticipated, and so you are wondering what exactly is going on here. But I try to look at it from the president's perspective as well. There is a lot of chaos there. The right hand isn't talking to the left, and then they come up with something, and then the left hand, which is the IRGC, says, no, I'm not agreeing to that, and they all of a sudden start shooting missiles off, which is, literally what happened. But I think what's happening here on the president's side is he's thinking about the longer term implications of doing that thing, Brian. There's so much more to the next phase of a military campaign. It could open Pandora's box, and it could take this to another level that nobody expected. I think to a certain degree, going in, they thought they were going to wipe out the top of their food chain and that this regime was going to crumble, and it didn't. It had support from China and from Russia and from its own organization over the last 47 years. And so this, whatever's left of it, has proven to be a lot stronger, I think, than anybody necessarily thought. And so the appetite in this country, as we had in the midterms, for a more protracted military war, I just think is not there. It's not there from Congress. It's not there going into the elections. You've got people who are attacking the president on this on a daily basis. So I think he's trying to work with these people, not make excuses for them, but work with them as best as possible until he reaches a breaking point, if he does, and realizes that there's just no diplomatic off-ramp here.
I want to build on that theme that we have patience because right now the economy looks strong. And I think Iran is waiting to see, like, how much do voters turn on Trump in the midterms? How painful is $4.50 or $5 gas? And frankly, they can wait all they want. I would not bet against the American consumer. And holy smokes, did you guys see the ISM manufacturing data that came out this morning? We're at a 4-year high. We're going back to the highest since May of 2022. Prices paid fell. A little bit high still. Construction spending rises faster than expected. Strength in new orders is up. Backlogs are up above 50, which is the measure for expansion or contraction, for a 5th month in a row. And industry breadth improved. 16 out of 18 industries are seeing expansion versus just 13 in the prior 2 months. One note that I loved said that we've been a little bit cautious because last year we had a little bit of this manufacturing head fake, but the reshoring of production and AI build out, and then of course the favorable tax incentives like that bonus depreciation for factories for the big beautiful bill are really providing meaningful support. So if you're kind of looking, I know next segment we'll kind of dig into if this is all just AI and if it feels fake or not, but if you're waiting around for a slowdown in the economy, I don't think you're going to get it. You also had in May all the 3 PMIs, manufacturing as well, U.S., China, and Euro. U.S. is still the strongest house on the block. China and Eurozone, they're expanding, but at a decelerating rate. We're expanding at an accelerating rate. And taken together, the composite of these 3 are also the highest since May of 2022. So while we can talk about maybe globally there's pockets of slowdown, overall, I think the U.S. is still sort of that best house on the block. And if you're waiting around for a slowdown in the consumer or the business cycle, we just talked about Anthropic filing for an IPO. They're profitable already. We're going to get a SpaceX IPO next maybe week or 2. I think you're going to be waiting for a while to see sort of a market or an economy start to crack.
To stay on the economy for a second, too, just to sort of zero in on gas prices, I've been speaking to some economists and strategists about this and sort of modeling out, okay, if there were a deal and oil falls, how quickly do gasoline prices actually fall and come all the way back down? I mean, that's going to be a slow process anyway. So I think in terms of talking about, do you make a deal this week? Do you make a deal in 2 weeks? What does that actually do to gas prices for the rest of the year? It's going to take a minute for those to come back down. It's not like they instantly come back down once the deal is made. So I think that's an important thing to remember here,
especially
too.
in summer.
Yeah.
Peak of the summer driving season is July 4th, so you expect prices to go up. I was reaching for the gas price earlier in the A block. I knew it was in the 430s. It's $4.32. It's come down substantially from its Trump high, not its Biden high, which Trump's price never got that high. But I think it's significant that if prices can even stay here, we were in the 80s last week a little bit, and hold there, we're okay.
I agree. We're in a strong. I agree with you. Okay, on the manufacturing and what the president's done to the domestic economy. I wouldn't bet against American businesses or consumers. But there is nobody in the world better at playing a waiting game.
I agree.
Than Iran.
I agree.
For 47 years, they've made life miserable for their people and hung around. So I think actually they're not as disorganized as everybody's saying. I actually think they're quite organized and they realize this is a game they can play to drag things out. And so my antsiness is not about the weakness of the U.S., but it's about their ability to wait out a bad situation forever.
I hear you.
And I'm like, let's make it insufferable.
And have more leverage or press the leverage point.
Make it go.
There's got to be a deadline, right? Even just saying we're at the ready, our forces are there, we can do this at any point, we're not in a rush. That's the part of the negotiation tactic on our side that I don't necessarily love. We've got to have a deadline. People have to have expectations on both sides of the negotiation, but also the American people to know what we're doing. Maybe a deadline in some ways would speed up their chaotic mess over there.
Well, we should point out that, and this is coming from the kind of the news agency, Tasnim, which is linked to Iran's IRGC, that Iran has stopped negotiating.
Right.
Period.
That they have stopped exchanging messages with the United States. because of ceasefire violations. So this broke a few
Ceasefire,
hours. Yeah, this broke a few hours ago. The saying, so you take that, as far as you can throw it, but that came out this morning, and that seems to be certainly moving oil a little bit.
If they don't want to send messages, we should be sending something else their way, and it's not, please come back to the table in words.
Nope.
Speaking to another outlet, the president actually shrugged off the possible collapse of these peace negotiations, and he said, this is a quote to CNBC, "I don't care if they're over, honestly. I really don't care. I couldn't care less."
My worry, the American people really care.
That goes to what I was not so eloquently trying to say last hour, is that given and it is suffering that Americans have experienced the last 6 years. It is the vice grip of high prices and inflation and high interest rates to fight it. Particularly when Jay Powell's Federal Reserve was raising interest rates to fight the inflation that he created. But even now, longer-term rates, market rates, earlier today, the 10-year was at 4.5. It's pulled back. The 30-year still north of 5. That you do run and I'm not suggesting that the White House handle Iran, deal with Iran because of inflationary expectations, but you do run the risk of inflation expectations becoming embedded. And if you anticipate prices going higher in the future, then it changes your behavior today. And so it becomes an upward spiral in prices. And then you get higher interest rates where lenders to the federal government, you're blowing, at the same time, not only are prices higher, but you're blowing out the debt and deficit. And you get lenders demanding to be paid more to lend the U.S. money and to hold our debt, and you've got the Federal Reserve kind of in a pickle, because either you fight the inflation with higher interest rates, that blows out the deficit with higher borrowing costs for the federal government, or you don't fight the inflation, and then you have the market and lenders demanding a higher return on longer-term debt, and then that causes problems. And higher borrowing costs, particularly on homes, that's treacherous. Speaking of which, not so treacherous, Phil Flynn breaking down the latest in the energy markets. Hey, Phil, what are you making of this? Because one thing we didn't mention about oil and energy is where are global inventories right now, and how SPR by, I think, will be down to it was under Joe Biden.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Concerns that we're both burning through faster than any time in the world. So there's no doubt about it is a concern to almost everybody except for the markets. I mean, if you look at the back end of the futures curve, it's calm. It's saying, don't worry. Now, part of the reason is, I think, is because of China. China has built up the biggest strategic petroleum reserve in the world. They're one of the biggest consumers of the oil going through the Strait of Hormuz. And they cut off, their oil imports, believe it or not, during this entire crisis. So there's a belief that they're going to be able to ride this thing out, even if it goes a few months. And the markets are saying very clearly, it's not going to go a few months. It's going to be over, and that's why we're not concerned. Now, we are hearing from some of the oil majors saying, hey, we're concerned if this does go on, we could see oil at 100 or 160, but that's not happening today, that's for sure. So, I mean, when I look at what I'm seeing here, today, you knew it was going to be a bad day, when the Iranian president gave his resignation, because he said those other people are crazy. They won't go to the table. They want to keep the war going, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. And they're lashing out today, saying we're going to attack the Strait of Hormuz again. We're going to go to the Bab el-Mandeb state. And the thing that you have to focus on today is Lebanon and Israel. One of the reasons why they were all upset, Israel was really hitting Lebanon and Hezbollah really hard over the weekend, right? And so they're saying, hey, enough of that. That's a violation of the ceasefire. Well, we're hearing reports from Axios now that Hezbollah is calling for a ceasefire in Lebanon. So keep an eye on the oil prices. These headlines could move us dramatically one way or the other. If we get a ceasefire in Lebanon, it may be one less excuse for Iran not to talk to the U.S.
Right. You were talking about the oil majors sounding the alarm about inventory levels. One of them was from Exxon at the Sanford Bernstein conference last week. He was talking about 150, 160 Brent. And if we hit really low inventory levels in like 2 or 3 weeks, potentially. So we'll watch.
It's possible. But I'll tell you what, the market has been pretty dynamic. And we've got to give the Trump administration a heck of a lot of credit. They've managed this energy crisis better than any administration in my lifetime. I mean, why aren't we at $200 a day? Because if everything you say is true, we should be there. We're not. It's because they know what they're doing.
Thank you, Phil. Great to see you, sir.